just my imagination running away.
We're back. This is the Legal Survival Show with James Hirsen, and just give you that toll-free number again. You may have questions or comments, considerations. It's 1-888-260-4460, 1-888-260-4460. Now, time to time in the legal world, and this affects our study of civics as well, we hear terms. Some people call them legalese. Some people call them terms of art. But in a moment, I'm going to give you the background on a term that you've heard about your faith.
What does that mean?
The separation of church and state. Now, you've heard this term, the separation of church and state. And most people in the United States, and they've taken polls on this, believe that that phrase is found in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights. It is not. It is not. You see, the main clause that people of faith need to be concerned about in the Constitution is what's called the Free Exercise Clause. And it's the accompanying clause together with what is called the Establishment Clause found in the First Amendment. Here's what it says, by the way. Quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So the phrase separation of church and state came from a letter. The letter was written by then-President Thomas Jefferson. This was in 1802. He wrote it to Baptists that were in Danbury, Connecticut. It ended up being published in a Massachusetts newspaper. And the letter references the First Amendment, and it references religion, and it's almost always taken out of context. It was taken out of context, unfortunately, by the Supreme Court over and over again. The phrase separation of church and state was in the letter because Baptists in Connecticut were striving for religious tolerance in the state of Virginia because back then the state of Virginia had an official state religion, which was not Baptist. It was Anglican. And all Thomas Jefferson was doing was backing them, saying, don't worry, Baptists, it may be like that in Virginia, but it won't be like that at the federal government level. But in the name of this separation of church and state, crosses are ripped down in parks and cemeteries. Prayer has been banished from schools. The ACLU is on an irrational, crazy crusade to remove any religious imagery, even if it involves a religious holiday. And it's not in the Constitution. That's very important information. The Constitution should never inhibit public displays of faith, but unfortunately our courts have distorted its meaning. Just to give you an idea what the original meaning was, earlier in our country, we had public worship. There were church services held in the U.S. Capitol and Treasury buildings every Sunday. If we go to Washington, D.C., you see Bible verses carved in stone and religious imagery on federal buildings, including a picture of the Ten Commandments above the heads of the justices in the United States Supreme Court. So our forefathers never sought to evict the church from society. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk further about religious freedom and talk to an expert about what you have to deal with if you have kids in school. This is James Hirsen on the Legal Survival Show. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
Don't forget to visit LegalSurvival.org. James Hirsen will be back in a moment. Stay tuned.